Today on the show, instrumentality begins, and then a backdoor pilot for a regular sitcom, and finally, congratulations. That's all coming up next on today's show. Hit the theme. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anime Binge Club, the only show that doesn't know how it's introduced. I'm your host, Spencer Damn Motherfucking Goddamn Bitch Crittenden, and with me, as always, is Kevin in the gang. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, that's quite the introduction. I'm flattered.
Yeah. And what's up, the gang?
Oh,
hey, congratulations to us all.
Right?
Congratulations, everyone.
a happy congratulations day.
It really is. So, I don't know. What have you guys been watching and doing?
Well, Jeff and I went recently to Las Vegas to see the Dead and Company play at the Sphere. So that was a big thing we saw in the
All-time
audio
experience. I recommend anybody to get to the Sphere for any reason, but especially for Dead and Company. Quite an unbelievable experience.
You sent me a video and it looked pretty encompassing.
It's impossible to describe what it feels like to be in there because it's like such a new the closest approximation is, if you know Soarin' at Disney, it's like a ride where you kind of like are on a thing that moves, and below you is a giant screen, and they display like you fly over or like the first time you ever walked into an IMAX theater as a kid. It's like 10 times either of those experiences. It's really crazy.
Also, IMAX, that's just playing a movie. It's not like, even if it is so big, it's like, well, it's still kind of one thing. Whereas, like,
no, this is
spheres around.
This is a screen that's like literally as big as your mind's eye. Like, It's like it takes over your entire visual field.
And it's
so
capable
nuts.
of being so bright that it actually seems like you're outside. Like, they created the technology to put into a bunker so that you can feel like you're outside but not be outside.
Like the
it's
volume.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I guess it is basically the volume, but
It's a giant volume.
Yeah. It's something else. And the show was
cool.
amazing.
It was very good. Other than that, I watched recently this show that really blew me away called The Apothecary Diaries. That for all the anime fans out there, I really recommend. It's like a period piece set in feudal Japan, but it's from the point of view of an apothecary. And it's all these like medical mysteries with high intrigue and sort of this like court setting. It's like House MD or something, but in this intense historical setting. It's really cool.
Yeah, I that's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to check that out. It vaguely reminds me, there's this older show called Mushishi, which is maybe a little bit of a similar take. There's like a guy who's like going around and people get sick. But in this world, when people get sick, it's because they're being cursed by spirits. But these aren't the spirits you think, guys. It's not like a ghost going like blah, blah. It's like weird little spirit bacterium, and the spirit bacterium are more like phenomenon that are like, it's almost more like X-Files or stuff where it's like, oh shit, these things come and they pollute the water, but they only show up when someone has had a broken heart for 5 years or something, and it's maybe a little bit similar. But yeah, I want to check out Apothecary Diaries. I've been catching up on that time I got reincarnated on a slime, or as a slime, which had a new season come out at some point. I feel like it was a while ago, but yeah, I finally got through that. And now I'm watching a classic. This is a classic Japan ass anime. It's most anime is not very Japanese, but this one, it's called the Shiunji family siblings or something like that. And it's about a guy who has 5 hot girl sisters, and he finds out that none of them are related to him.
Whoa.
So
that's quite a setup.
Yeah, it certainly gives you some ideas. But It's a lot of fun. I don't know. It's not amazing. The thing is, there's an anime called, I don't know what it's called in Japan, but the translated title is The Quintessential Quintuplets, which is about like five quintuplet girls that a guy is like tutoring, and so it's like a harem anime where they're all quintuplets. And this is basically that, except instead of quintuplets, they're just different. And then, like pseudo incest implications or whatever. But other than that, like it follows the basic premise of quintessential quintuplets, and I think that show was better. But this is what I do. this is what this podcast is about. What about you, Jeff?
I finished watching The Studio on Apple TV.
How many episodes is that?
10.
Okay,
Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. What an unbelievable show. Like one of the best written sitcoms currently on the air, or maybe in the last few years. It's and it carries this torch that I feel like there's like not always one running, but often one running. That's like a show that is about Hollywood, that captures it in a brilliant way and incorporates people from its world, but like also just is a good sitcom. I'm thinking, back to Larry Sanders Show. Sure. And then, The Comeback is with Lisa Kudrow, I feel like is in that category. A few others that like perfectly satirize the television and film industry. And this is like an amazing entry.
Mm-hmm. I second that. I really liked it.
Check out
The Studio.
I definitely gotta watch that. I gotta.
It's really funny.
Resub to fucking Apple TV. Whatever. Kevin.
So I've been kind of sick lately and not sleeping well. So I've not been watching a lot of stuff. But I don't know if I talked about this on the show before, but I found this technique of when I can't, like, I'm sleepy all the time, so I oversleep, and then I can't sleep when I'm supposed to. And there's this technique I found to fall asleep that seems to really work, where you put headphones in, and you put something really boring on, that the volume is just low enough that you struggle to hear it. And that kind of puts you into this, like, hypnotic state, where as long as it's not too interesting, and as long as you're really having to focus to hear what they're saying, for some reason, that just knocks me out hard. So what I'll do is I'll go onto YouTube and just find some boring 30-minute long video and of like, some guy trying to fix an old Commodore 64 computer or something where it's boring. And I'll forget and I'll leave autoplay turned on though. So YouTube will just like keep throwing stuff at me, and it'll eventually like run out of things it thinks you want to watch, and will just like start randomly picking stuff. And for some reason, its go-to for me is guys who own a tow truck business who save people's cars from like, falling into ditches and stuff. So not only now is that like if I open up YouTube, that's all I get are like tow truck videos, because it thinks I'm really, really engaged in watching all these tow truck videos. It's like infecting my dreams now. So I'm dreaming about tow trucks. I'm thinking about tow trucks. I think I've just like accidentally like hypnotized myself into being a tow truck driver fan.
Well,
if that's a genre.
Maybe you should. I wonder if it's that hard to become a tow truck, because I want to do that now. Now I want to. I want to be a tow truck. Go ahead.
Oh, that sleep technique, that works for me. Like when I used to do this thing where I would turn it down every time I realized I could hear it again, like as your ear adjusts, and I would just go down and down and down until I just would conk out on the low volume. I don't know why it works, but it does. But I was going to say my YouTube defaults for some reason to Roman era history of Britain. Like no matter what, if I leave it on, I'll wake up to some like 3-hour BBC documentary about like the roads.
That sounds fun.
That's better than tow trucks, I think, actually. I think I'd prefer that. I'd be learning in my sleep then.
Kevin, what about the Sleep With Me podcast, where it's the podcast where it's supposed to put you to sleep?
I used to listen to that all the time.
I've never tried it. The concept sounded okay, but I don't know. I just wanted to be contrary, I guess, and just do my own thing and bore myself with something that's not even intentionally boring, I guess. I don't know.
The
Yeah.
thing about Sleep With Me podcast is he used to get me to burst out laughing in like the first third because of like he would be saying something like he has this long intro into every episode that he does uniquely. And part of it is like setting the tone of the boringness by talking about what the show is. And so every time he'll be saying stuff like you're going to get a lot of gratuitous and superfluous uses of words like gratuitous and superfluous. And I'm just like I burst out laughing while it's trying to, and then I go back into it, and eventually I would fall asleep. But there would just be a lot of like, he'd be like, "I'm your boar friend. I'm gonna pillow you softly with my words."
Yeah. The thing with Sleep With Me is that he's like a legitimately amazing writer. So like if you can't fall asleep, you're still listening to something that's like kind of amazing.
Yeah. I when I want to go to sleep, I do watch anime on my phone with headphones in, and eventually it gets me to a point where I'm like tired enough. I don't actually fall asleep, but I'm like, okay, I'm feeling the sleep come on, and then I turn it off. It's usually it's usually like in the middle of the episode. It's like I'll finish an episode and I'll be like, can I go to sleep? And then I'll maybe try, and it's like, nope, not sleepy enough yet. But then 5 or 10 minutes into an episode, then I'll be like, okay, here it is. But yeah, it's we're all more similar than we think, I suppose. But Ryan, you've been playing Dune, the MMO.
Oh yeah, no, I just had my first big session with Dune Awakening. I'm like in love with it right now, but that I gotta give this a caveat of that's because of the Dune wrapper. Like they nailed the Dune setting so much that like just the experience of like having to run from a sandworm and then like climb a big pillar of rocks and like see the ships like flying around hunting people and stuff. It's very cool. The gameplay does seem like it's another one of these. It's another survival crafting game, but like it seems like they did a lot right, and I'm very, very excited to get a ornithopter and buzz around.
Man, an ornithopter would be great.
Mm-hmm.
I want to become an ornithopter. How do you become an ornithopter? Never mind.
How do you?
Like a tow truck.
Pioneering surgery that we're gonna begin exploring right now.
It would be so much cooler to be an ornithopter than a tow truck. I picked so wrong.
That's what I'm thinking.
I really fucked up, you guys. Can we start over? Okay, cut the shit. It's time to talk about the two most controversial episodes of Evangelion ever recorded. Was it recorded? It was filmed.
Somebody recorded it.
Yeah.
Before we get too deep, I need to know, was the movie planned to be the finale before this was made, or was this meant to be the finale and then they decided to do the movie?
I've heard it both ways. I think maybe the reality is the movie was meant to be like the true ending. But both of them were planned. It's unclear to me. I don't know. Something that's been happening as we've done these anime episodes is that fuckers on the Reddit will be all like, I'm really disappointed that Spencer got this detail wrong about the making of this series, and then go on to not say anything about the making of the series. It's like, well, fucking if you want to inform us, go right ahead. Like that'd be great. I only fucking have the information I have. I mean, and I've talked about it before, but the information I have came from like an article on, I don't know what it was. It might have been Gizmodo actually, but I think some of the premises of that article have been disputed or debunked, but I find them to be more satisfying, which is, I mean, obviously there is a lot of trouble in the production towards the end. Like I think they were trying to save money, but at the same time, I don't know like how drastically they diverged from their initial plans either. Like, because I've heard that they were always kind of gunning for that ending, but the article talks about again how like he was making the show while he was suffering depression, and he put a lot of his like ideas about it into the series, and that before the finale, before these final 2 episodes got made, his I don't know if I think it was his then wife, like I think it was his wife at the time, although I'm not sure. His wife was like, "Oh, buddy, you have depression," and he's like, "There's a name for this? I just thought I was going insane." And I was dying, and actually, like, it's a thing that you can name and understand. And so, like, with that, he like had like wanted to make the series end on a more positive note, because if this whole thing was him struggling, this was him like maybe seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and wanting to like convey that to the audience or something. But I've heard that that's not actually the case. The thing is, like, the 2 endings, people try and say they're both canonical, both the end of the show and the end of the movie. And I mean, I guess they are, but I don't think they exist in the same continuity. Like, I think they're mutually exclusive. Now, again, like the fans will say that the movie happens, and then at some point in the movie, like, instrumentality occurs, and then cut to these 2 episodes, and then that happens in the world, and then at the end of that there's just a big X because it's not explained, because from the end of episode 26 then they cut back into the movie, and it's not explained like how that happens. It's just the movie keeps happening because it's a movie. It doesn't just stop in the middle to play 2 episodes of a show, And so, but I think that's like fan theories. Like, you ever go into rabbit holes and then people are like, "Oh, but what if like that was actually the mom the whole time?" And it's like, you're just making shit up. I can imagine that being the case, but there's no reason to look at this document, this text, and say like, "Oh, clearly that's what's happening." Like, you're just trying to be dot connecting. And I think that's like the situation with trying to square both the series ending and the movie ending. I think they're just like essentially like alternate realities. They're just different takes on the ending. And yeah,
I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how they're
you simply must
different from each other, and I will. But I guess what the question that was more on my mind was this ever meant to be the ending of the show? Because, halfway through the second episode, I was like, what about Sela and Gendo, and what's going on with that? And so if the movie is like, then we come back after these 2 episodes and have the big showdown, whatever that is, then that would make a lot of sense to me as like the original plan. But if this was supposed to end the show and then they were like, "Oh, let's like take it further," that would be very confusing to me. But
it's very
sounds like
It sounds
there
like that's
isn't a
the
good
case.
answer, or it sounds like both are the case. I can't really
I think
make heads
so.
or tail of it. Like,
yeah.
Well,
It's,
it doesn't sound like the movie lines up with the continuity of anything that happens in these
Not
episodes.
clearly.
Like, it seems like, that's what I'm hearing from Spencer. We have to see it to.
what I was
can
assuming was that we were seeing like the internal experience, and then we would see the external experience in the movie.
We have to watch the movie together, I think. Maybe we can record
Yeah, maybe
that.
we should all do that.
I think we should do that. Yeah.
But what I can say that's like maybe not super spoilery is the movie is a big downer, and it's not like, I don't remember there being any serious amounts of like, oh, like here's where we rally or whatever. So to me, it's hard to imagine. Just imagine like a movie that's a big downer, like fucking Grave of the Fireflies or something,
Okay.
and just imagine
Jesus.
just picking a point somewhere in the middle of the runtime of Grave and the Fireflies and just cutting in those 2 episodes. It wouldn't make sense. And if you saw that, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, Okay.
That's the other part of the other half of that coin or something like that.
Because how do you see those two episodes and it's like, here's the note we're leaving on, and then smash cut to the end of Grave of the Firefly? That doesn't like work. Like, so like to me, it doesn't make sense that I can believe that it's like, oh, these are two sides of a coin and you can take this one or take this one and they're both, part of the experience. But the idea that they're supposed to be part of the same work to me doesn't make sense. Does that make sense?
A bit. I mean, I went and opened up like the Netflix thing for the movie, and it described the movie as being like Sela attacks Nerve, and Gendo, makes the third impact. And I was like, that sounds like a finale to the show.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm like, if he wanted to end the show here off of just what the show is, it would be very weird to me because everything was leading to something that never happens.
Right.
So it was planned to do the movie then, right?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. But then it's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe someone on Reddit can fucking talk about it.
Well, because I'm like, this isn't the ending this is the internal ending. And the whole first episode, just to still speak generally, I was like, well, this is the second to last episode. I bet the last episode will really, and then the last episode is more of the same. And I was like, what the fucking, what?
That's what I love about it. Go ahead.
Early on when we were watching it, I was like, because we just watched it today, I was like, how funny would it be if both episois are just all this?
And I was like,
jokingly.
No
and then
way.
like halfway through the first one, I was like, what is happening? I was like, this is wild.
I think it's great. That's what I mean. It's fucking awesome. It's
definitely bold, and I respect it in a lot of ways.
Because I think obviously there's so much intrigue going on and you get so many little answers that I think it's very natural to be all like, and then things will get explained. And then things kind of get explained. And it's like, but this doesn't answer my questions. I hope things will get explained. And you keep on getting little half answers that raise more questions. But the thing is, the whole time, the whole series is like a really strong character study that's about themes and identity and what these characters are going through together and how they butt heads with each other. And so it's kind of like you get answers, but at the same time, I feel like there's this idea where it's like the character study is like going along and then the plot is like falling off of it. And here in these last two episodes, it finally takes flight and it's like, no, we're abandoning the world. Like we're just in our heads because that's what matters. And it turns
but every now and then I would think to myself, like, but what was that thing in Gendo's hand?
Exactly.
And laugh to myself about okay.
It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously the thing is the world ended and instrumentality happened. And so it's like, yeah, at the end of the apocalypse, I guess it doesn't really matter what anyone was trying to do because the fucking world ended. And now we're here and now we got to fucking deal with it. And I think there's something very cool about that. But obviously that leaves a lot of people very frustrated and confused and wanting to know more. And that is what the movie is. Like the movie is like, here is like, if this is post-apocalypse, this is like, here's how we got here, more or less, okay. But I do think it's really cool that they're just like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck this. I don't care about that. I want to talk about how I am me and you are you and I am and my world is myself and I am the world, and I don't know. I think it's really cool. But yeah, it's so crazy. But I mean, I think part of that, it's like, obviously I mean, I don't know. I think everybody has their own experience with it. The first time I watched it, I was like, well, what the fuck? But the second time I watched it, I was like, God damn it. Like, this is crazy. And basically every time I watch it, the ending, it comes out of nowhere, but the ending just gets me. And it made me cry every time. I've watched it 3 or 4 times now, this time, just in preparation of this episode. And every time it's just bam, crying. It's so sudden.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I don't and that's not to say the whole thing, makes perfect sense or works very well, but whatever the thing, it's like it's throwing all these ideas out here, and it's like I kind of get this. I don't know that's going on. This reminds me of that. You're kind of free associating, and then the end hits, and he's like, "Oh, it's okay to be myself," and I'm like, "God damn it!" Yeah, it's really wild. Anyway, Kevin, do you have any thoughts?
I was all over the map while watching these two.
Sure.
I mean, there was a lot of what am I watching mixed in with I don't know. I got the feeling that like they were nearing the end of producing this and they had already done some like budget saving episodes, and this felt like they realized they had like an entire season worth of stuff to pack into 2 episodes, and there was no way they could afford to animate it. There was no way they could afford to even draw it in some cases. So they made do with what they had. But then the more I watched it, the more I thought this was deliberate and this was a choice, not something that was forced on them. I'm so confused. I am so confused. Like I need to watch them 3 or 4 times probably again too. There were so many little details that we could spend 15 minutes talking about, and some of the choices that were made and all this that this was not at all how I thought the show was going to end at all.
Yeah,
Me neither.
At all.
exactly. Yeah, it's really fucking crazy. Yeah, I think it definitely makes sense. You might imagine they were like expecting to do like a second season or, something bigger. And then they're like, oh, well, we don't have enough for a second season and we have too much for like an ending or something. But also, I don't know. I don't know when the convention of like ending an anime with a movie like came about, but that definitely is something that exists currently. Or like ending a big arc of an anime with a movie. So like it could have very well been always the plan. It's not, I don't know. I probably could have done more research, but whenever I do research on this thing, it usually just seems like people arguing about what they think it is. And I'm like, well, where's the primary source to any of this? Because again, it could just all be headcanon for people. And that's not very interesting to me because again, it's like, oh, it's the mother the whole time. And it's like that, you're just making that up. But I don't know. Maybe we can just hop around. I definitely have notes to go through, but it's such a weird,
Well, I want to say one other thing, just kind of like at a high level of it, which is at times it was talking about themes and things about life that I really agree with, or I think are amazing messages. Sometimes it was artistically fascinating and great, but a lot of it was something that I feel like I've seen a lot of in this show, which is Shinji being like, I want to run away. Do I? No. And I was a little bit tired of some of that. And I felt like this was really, there were a lot of ways in which this was great, but at a high level, there was just too much throughout the whole show of, I like the focus on the internal things, but it's just a little too like, no, I'm me. I can do it alone. And like, I know who these characters are, and what they think about these things, and to hear it again and again and again, I was like, I want to know what's going on.
Sure,
but,
yeah.
I was also at times emotionally there with it, and I could see how if you're like the more you watch it and the more in the heads of these characters you are, the more brilliant you would feel it is. But on first glance, I was like, this is really good and cool. But also shut up, Shinji.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the point though. Like, I think like basically he's been slowly like growing as a person and coming to terms with like his issues and fighting with himself and stuff. But ultimately, killing, what's his name? God damn it, I just had
the 13th angel.
Kaworu. Yeah, killing Kaworu kind of like traumatizes him and sets him back. Kind of like if he's been making progress the whole series, this like it reverts him like really far back in a catastrophic way. And he kind of like goes completely balls to the wall with like running away and stuff. And that's what starts the episode is he's not like, because his whole deal, right, is he can't acknowledge reality because reality is painful. So he's trying to like come up with excuses and anything other than to like admit reality. Like in the very beginning, it's like, so you killed him, and he's like, I had no choice, so you killed him. Like they're like, he was not human, so you killed him. And it's like all of this to not say, yeah, I killed him. Like this is something that happened. It's constantly running away from the truth, running away from reality, because he's trying to like go he's trying to avoid pain. And in that, like, he does that so much, like the world basically ends and he creates his own universe where he's like the only thing that exists. So it's kind of like the ultimate like final boss of this brain damage is like to withdraw completely into himself and then be all like, well, this sucks too. This is what I've been like striving for, and like all the voices are like, yeah, this is what you've built for yourself. Is this what you want? And like he slowly comes to his own realization that like, no, like this is not good. Like, and he kind of he comes to terms to it himself, but also with like the help of other people. So like I think like that is supposed to, again, like kind of like that really long pause before he kills Kaworu at the end. It's like you really are supposed to be like sitting in it to like an uncomfortable degree, and obviously it makes sense if that's like so comfortable. It's like, well, fucking get over it. Like, we're in 2025 right now. We're not bamboozled by these same film tricks or whatever. But I do think it is intentional, to be sure. But just to to the extent that this doesn't, I don't know. Again, I don't know how much we can actually like talk about it like scene by scene per se. But like the big thing is human instrumentality happens. And what that is it is some metaphysical merging of all the souls in the world, a way of expanding and overlapping everyone's consciousness so that they fill in the eternal holes that everybody carries with them. Because all humans are incomplete. All humans have like trauma and like these losses that can never be repaired. And so again, this like metaphysical concept of instrumentality essentially kind of is like a black hole of souls that like smashes them all into one common consciousness. And that is like what Gendo has been moving towards all along. And that is the only thing that can like, quote, heal humanity or allow humanity to survive. And I think we're to believe that like one of the main reasons Gendo wants this is to get Yui back, is because like in his mind, if we're all the same, all like the souls living and dead like are constantly existing like in one another, then it's like we all have eternal life forever or something. So like his idea of like ending the world is like making this sort of weird metaphysical version of heaven where we all exist in this one thing. So like what we're seeing is various aspects of that, meta reality.
He should have just killed himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that you have these villains, right? And they go and do crazy shit. And you're like, why would you do that? Just like fucking learn how to drive a boat or something, like, but that's why, it's like Black Panther, he's
Well,
like,
also,
I gotta
like,
fight the Black Panther, then I can become the Black Panther, and then I could liberate Wakanda and save all the black people from white supremacists. And it's like, I mean, okay, but what if you were just normal, right? Like that is kind of what villains do. Go ahead.
Well, just like if he's trying to get back with Yui, and her soul exists still, and you can exist with her if you get rid of life and death and exist all together, then maybe she exists in death and you can just, get there on the other side.
Maybe, yeah. That's a big if.
You're right. It's a big if, but destroying the world would definitely fix it. And that's not an if at all.
Hey, well, that's what the Dead Sea Scrolls said.
I guess so.
They didn't say if you kill yourself, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And
it's unclear what
the
they
angels
said. Forget.
I'll say this. I really desperately want to work in the creative industry that allows this to be the finale of the show, that this makes it through. And I also found it trying and pretty dissatisfying in a lot of ways.
Sure.
But I also think that like I can see why it hits hard, because it has these like very like deep messages it's sort of hinting at and hitting at. But it felt to me almost like, was the show heading to this? Like, I really felt like it was heading to this plus I was in the story, and I was
Right.
so like, so the end of the show is that nothing happens.
Well, it just doesn't matter. It all happens.
Yeah,
It's just not what's being focused on. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think that part of it, I think that's why like watching it multiple times gets you more on the level, because I think, yeah, there's all these mysteries and it's like, well, what's going to happen? And then it's like, oh, well, what happens is this. And it's like, well, that's not what I was caring about at all. So this is just something else.
I
And
do
it's
think
like, yeah.
Rewatching the show loaded with this would like open it up in a crazy way.
Yeah. Yeah, because I do like, and I've been tracking that, through most of these episodes, I've been tracking like the characters really strongly, and the characters are really interesting. The way they like bump into each other and stuff, like Masato and how she's like using men in her life or like interacting with them to kind of fill her wounds, and we slowly understand that that's like coming from her dad, and she breaks like she has the fight with Kaji and stuff, and that kind of comes to a head in this, and the same with Asuka. We slowly learn like what Asuka's deal is, and that comes in the head with this. And we get less of a taste with Rey, but I think like it's similar too, where she's kind of coming to terms with like, oh, well, I want to die. Like that's my whole deal, is I don't want to exist anymore. And then, then we learn like, oh, well, the reason that's the case is because you don't want to like you don't want to see this part of yourself that is like less than human, that is like a clone or something. Is like if you acknowledge those parts of yourself, then that starts to disintegrate the current self that's made these like bonds with these people. It kind of makes it out to be fake or less significant than the fact that you're like a triple clone or whatever, and so I do think like all of that does build really clearly. It's just in the interest of wanting to know what happens with the world, you don't focus on anything. But then again, you go back and you're like, well, this all is all there is. Then it's like, then I think you can make more of a meal out of it. But
this is how Lost should have ended.
Right.
With 2 episodes like this, where all the characters are kind of like, what was I thinking about the entire time I was on the island?
Yeah. So I just to go through like some kind of notes for Shinji, like he's not admitting that like he had a choice in killing Kawaru, and like because that's a lot of his theme is like I just do this stuff because I have to. I'm not like in charge of my own life. I'm just doing what other people tell me, because that's kind of like that to me feels like builds into like it's denying the like painful reality of the world and denying like his part in it, his agency. And that feels like all this healing fantasy stuff, because like ultimately he's like, if I do what all these people tell me to do, then I will receive love. Like the healing fantasy is I will receive love. It's like if I act in my role self, then I will be rewarded. And then that's like that kind of like sets up then when they say like human instrumentality begins, like that's how we're kind of going into it. But we do see everyone's flaws and stuff. But I think it's really interesting to just look at it through the healing fantasy lens, because it's just like that's what Shinji is. He's just a guy who exists as a role self, and he's doing it because it makes him feel good, but it doesn't make him feel good. Like I think in 26 he talks about like, oh, I pilot the Eva because I receive praise and that makes me feel good. And then he says, I pilot the Eva because it makes me feel or makes people praise me, and it doesn't make me any happier. And they're like, well, which is it? And he's like, it's both. And like I think that like really strongly goes into this thing where you can do this, you can put on the role and you could put out all this energy to get liked, but even when you get praise and receive good things from doing it, it still feels empty because you're putting forth so much effort to not be yourself, to put forward this like false front, and that doesn't feel good because you feel like you're not getting praise for being yourself, you're getting praise for not being yourself. And that ties into like how Masato is talking about how like she has to be the good girl. So her dad doesn't hate her, and she doesn't want to be like her mom because her mom was always crying, and he hated her because she was always crying. And yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I thought it was interesting. I don't know. There's just a part like, again, like everybody's like smashed together. So there's like a part where like Masato is like remembering her having sex with Kaji, and Shinji is like watching that, and she's like freaking out because she's like, oh no, don't let Shinji see. And it's just like, yeah, it's a weird metaphysical concept again, where it's like everybody's memories are intertwined and stuff, so you can like see everything that's going on, and Shinji's like watching it happen, and he has like this disgusted look on his face, and she's freaking out, but Kaji's like, well, like, it doesn't matter anymore, which again, like none of this stuff is really clearly explained. But if you take the premise, he's like, what are you talking about? Like the world ended. We're all mashed into this giant single brain unit. Like we can't
We're
keep
all one
secrets
thing,
anymore. Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is just kind of interesting. And like around there, Masato is like trying to understand what the situation is. And, Gendo and Ritsuko are explaining like, we all have holes in our hearts. This causes emotional starvation. As long as there's people, there will be this darkness that exists. So instrumentality is merging everyone's hearts together to make them whole. And Masato's like, that's just forcing everyone to cozy up. And then Ritsuko says like, that's what you wanted. And that kind of goes into her scene. But yeah, it's interesting because like, it is like a bad thing. Like that's what's so weird about it is like, do you guys have like it's Gendo is like forced humanity to become one big ball basically to solve everyone's problems, and it seems like it kind of works. It's not clear because we kind of only see those first flashes in 25 of like people kind of going through their shit, and then we're seeing Shinji it seems like it's working out for Shinji. Like he kind of figures his shit out. It's like, he like does instantaneous therapy on himself, and then comes out of it like fixed. But I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts on like, would you like to be this giant common consciousness?
I think one of my issues with it is that it is such a huge and complicated and also like fascinating in its own right idea that is like thrust upon us in the most confusing way without any like context of, because it's like hypothetically, like all I'm thinking the whole time is I'm like, so to fight against the angels, he wanted to put everyone's brain together. Maybe it's going to pilot a giant, machine is what I thought. And humanity will be like a super organism, but it's like unclear if that was, it would just made me so like, I was like, that's very cool. And I really liked the juxtaposition of like, I was thinking about during it of like, oh, everyone was worried about like the second impact, but it's like, you can't imagine the thing you should have been afraid of, I guess. If you should have been afraid of this, it's unclear if this is bad or not. That's where I'm at. I can't land on coherent.
What's your thought? Do you think it's, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, just as far as wanting to be a part of it, it's like I feel like the way things are in the real world, where we have both individuality and we get to work together, kind of as choice, is pretty good. I like it. I wouldn't want to, but I guess being one big organism could be, maybe it would be easier to communicate and work as a whole. And, we don't seem very good at actually pulling off a lot of the goals that we want to accomplish as a group. Maybe we would be better at it. But it's also that the show seems to like specifically posit the idea that if you have a hole in your heart, the piece that is missing exists somewhere else and it's in somebody else.
Mhm.
And that may be true. Like, I don't know if that was going for like soulmate idea that like there's somebody out there, and if you all were to be merged as one, then you would actually get to have the piece that's missing in your heart would be replaced by whatever somebody else in humanity has, that whatever that may be. And I'm not sure if that's true, but it certainly is like in the soulmate kind of area of concept. And it would be easy to find your soulmate if everybody became one and we could actually, I don't know, all hang out.
Yeah, well, I think that like I don't know. My interpretation is that like I mean humans are social creatures. We can't live alone, in a
Right.
practical sense. We do need other people. And I think like that's both like just in a very literal sense of like survival, but also like in a we need other people to be whole. Like I think like Shinji kind of is like the case study for it, but it's not like, oh, if you find your lover, then suddenly you'll be fixed. It's more like we're all broken and it's society that like comes together to fill in our gaps and allows us to like actually exist. Like one broken person can never like do everything on their own, but like, and that's what Shinji's kind of experiencing is like without other people to define me, I'm just like floating and I'm feeling myself fading out of existence. Like I don't even exist. But once you start to put like constraints on reality, like you put like a ground, suddenly you're not floating in space and now you can walk around, and once you see other people, then you can start to define your own shape and like sort of self-perception. So I think like that's like one example, but it's like we do need other people to help us like understand what we want and how to live and stuff. But also I think there's like I think like the idea of this like soul merge ball thing is not unlike some people's conception of heaven, where everything is perfect and no one can be hurt and like there's no secrets and we're all happy together forever. Like we're all just living forever. And like I think like people have similar complaints about heaven, like oh we're just gonna all be on clouds like playing harps. That sucks. Like that's not interesting. And I think like that's kind of like in the air too, especially when you look at all of the Japanese stuff is like about how like Western religion and like Western religious ideas like being imposed on us are bad. The idea that Gendo is like imposing this like Western afterlife heaven onto people, and it's like it's the end of the world that he does it, even if it is potentially a good thing. But yeah, I don't know. I also think like, yeah, I don't think they're doing it to fight the angels. I think if anything, the angels provide like chaos as a ladder style, a method for Gendo to do this thing that he's been trying to do, which is essentially a form of apocalypse.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
I wonder what this all looks like from the outside too. And I'm picturing, I don't know if you ever played the game Inside from the people who made Limbo.
Yeah.
There's like this ball of people that kind of like rolls around, it chases you at some point. And I'm like, what if that's what's going on the outside? And internally it's like, I can't run away.
Yeah, like there's this big like kaiju fight between like a giant angel and like this ball of humanity.
Exactly.
And people are like, oh, I can learn to play the guitar on the inside. On the outside it's like,
Yeah.
But I wonder, I mean, so many things have been inspired by Eva. Like I would wonder if Inside was ever inspired by Eva, because like the idea that like you're just this guy playing this game and you're like, oh, I wonder what's at the end. And it's like at the end you get subsumed by this giant mass of like symbiotic human mutants. Like, and it's like, oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, I guess we'll smash through all the obstacles and get out of here, which in a way, isn't that what happens?
And I hadn't thought about it, but I guess if you're going to make an anime masterpiece and Akira is in the air, you got to really swing at the end there.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing too, man. I gotta rewatch Akira. It's been a long time. I was watching like on TikTok or something. I saw a video of when Akira gets like hit by like a satellite laser, and that it's so cool. Like, and then he like flies up into space and like kills the satellite. That whole sequence is like so fucking good looking. Let's see. Kevin, you got anything?
I don't know if this is like just my own weird theory or if there's some basis in this, but it felt like for the last two episodes, like, the story's supposed to be that everyone all merges together and, Shinji's looking at himself and Asha's looking at herself and all this. It kind of felt like to me, this was all from Shinji's perspective. Like when you were watching um Ashka replay her childhood, that was Shinji looking into her soul to answer questions he had about her life. Because
Mhm.
if you notice what's happening, all of his stuff is him making brutal realizations about himself that were kind of like not obvious to him at the time. Where everybody else's are all things that should be like front of their brain, like, yes, this is what my problem is. Like, it shouldn't be like, all the world has just ended. I needed to reflect back and figure out what my problem was. Oh, it was this, obviously. It all kind of felt like these last two episodes were all Shinji's brain, like manifesting these other people in some way, which I don't know if there's any basis behind that, but I like that theory.
Yeah, so like obviously there's been these, like, I call them liminal spaces or whatever throughout the series where like Shinji is talking to a younger version of himself, or he's talking to Rei, and other characters chime in, but you're left with that same question. Like, are these people in this like dream space talking to him, or is like some entity, maybe like the soul of the Eva, is that like using these characters or memories as a way to try and communicate concepts to him? Like, I think like or is it like he's just using these memories to like converse with himself, And I think like in the beginning, it's like, I don't know, like I think my belief is like in the beginning we're seeing the different characters, and then we kind of move into Shinji's perspective, and he's like looking into their hearts. It kind of like says like, this is my heart in me, and or whatever, and my heart in you. And he's kind of like contemplating, and then I think like he like closes himself off, and then from then on I do think the idea is it's all him talking to himself using like the Socratic method or something. And like these other characters' perspectives, like, oh, what would this person say about this? And he's kind of arguing with himself using like his memories of these other people more. Or it could be because like the 26 is all about, he has this shell around him. He's like, if everybody's merged into this consciousness, he's like bubbled himself off and he won't remerge. And then the end of the episode, when everything cracks and he comes out, like that's him actually joining like everybody else. And so it could be he is entirely arguing with himself, or it could be they're trying to reach out for it to him and he's like saying, no, no, no. And they're like, you don't understand. You got to come out of your bubble or whatever, I think both of those ideas could work. I think like, just in terms of like setting rules and stuff, it does make more sense if he is just like kind of talking to himself. And so the rule is that like he's shut himself off completely and is now coming to terms with that. And so he's kind of going crazy and inventing like Wilson on the island of Castaway, to kind of talk and have these conversations. But yeah, it's definitely not clear. I mean, none of this stuff is clear. It's all wishy-washy. But yeah. Any specific things anyone wants to talk about? I think we kind of moved through most of it in a larger sense.
I was very curious about what seemed to be real photographs in the second episode.
Yeah.
Do you know about the history behind those or the significance of those?
Nope.
I was doing my best to like apply it to like, I don't know, pre or post World War II stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah, or
My
like a
initial
disaster.
instinct was that they looked like photos from before the bombs fell or something, maybe. Like they were like pictures of like a world right before it's like about to change entirely. But I couldn't tell.
Stuff that was of significance to, maybe people who remember, or non-Americans who I don't know. There was like, it seemed to have all this significance that I didn't know. Like it was almost like being shown like I don't know, like a picture of like JFK driving through Texas and being like, oh, well, I know what that picture means and is saying, but I'm actually just looking at a picture of some beer bottles in a room. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, and maybe Reddit can tell us. But to me, like I thought it's like, if anything, it's like it's trying to be deep. There is definitely like sequences in past episodes where they're in dream space cutting to like weird stuff, or like we're seeing like a bunch of like fast cuts of a bunch of stuff. It seemed like that kind of thing. But if I like had to put a term on it or whatever, it would be like decay. Like it seemed like there's all this like rebar and all this dirt and like a big steam shovel, and it's like, oh, is it digging something out of a disaster? Is it like trying to rescue people? And then there's like, yeah, there's like the beer bottle, there's like smashed cans. I want to say there's like a shopping cart full of like smashed cans or something,
Yeah,
that feels kind of like urban decay, maybe, I don't know. Like I definitely don't have any idea there. I think the movie has some of that too.
That's a shame because I was counting on you. I was going to be like, Spencer's going to come explain all these pictures to me.
Well, I'll tell you this. Well, I guess one thing I want to talk about is in 26, you cut to this, like Shinji wakes up.
Yeah, the alternate world. We got to talk about that.
Yeah, that's fun. The one thing, it's kind of like, it would have been nice. And other shows, especially these days, other shows could do this, but it would be awesome just to see like a version of like a series that is just that. Like it's just, there isn't robots, there's not aliens or anything. It's just these kids in a classroom. I guess I don't know what it would be about after a couple episodes. I mean, probably just like school drama or something. But like the idea, like where it is, I don't know. It could be really interesting. What if it's like, there's animes where like, man, I watched this anime. I don't know what it was called, but like, it's like a high school anime, and they're like in zombie land or something. Like the world has ended and there's zombies and stuff. But how the anime is like the first episode is just like a normal school episode. And then like at the end, like you cut to reveal like the school was always destroyed and most of the people who have been interacted with are all dead. And so it's like someone just like imagining like what if the world was fine as they're like running from fucking zombies the whole time. And then from then on, it's just like a zombie show. But like the first episode is it's just like normal, happy, cheery school kind of thing. It would be cool if there was like a season of Eva that's just like, it is just like a school thing, but you're seeing like the cracks of reality seeping through, where it's like, oh shit, like angels are attacking or something. And that's like slowly like breaking through the meta universe or something. But I don't know. But I definitely, I really like, it's just really cool. I don't know. I really like that thing. Obviously it was really short and,
well, it's nice and heartfelt too, like, or bittersweet that it's like that's the life that these characters are supposed to live in a world where the second impact didn't happen. There was a really funny element to it where earlier on in watching, Ryan was like, what if Shinji wakes up at the end of this thing and is looking at a snow globe and Tokyo 3 is in there?
Yeah.
And it was like, when he woke up, there was a minute where it was like, oh my God.
I really was like, oh my God, it's happening.
Is it? Holy shit.
I was like, I somehow predicted what was going to happen in these episodes from the start, even though there's these are so insane. But then no, it was way more interesting than that. And I would agree that I felt like it was bittersweet. That moment did affect me and kind of turned me around a little bit on the whole thing. My biggest problem was just how excruciating I felt it was. I felt like I was listening to someone just scream in pain for like just like the whole time.
Yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, I think like in that sequence, I think it's interesting. Like it's animated and then it devolves into like static images. And then like the last shot is it's like text on paper. And obviously we don't read Japanese, but what that is that's like a voice acting script that is like how manga or how anime sides are for like voice acting
Interesting.
sessions.
That's cool.
And then like so we see an actual photo of what are presumably the lines. Like I think it ends on like kind of Masato saying like, "Hey, well, let's see where this goes," or whatever. And so like presumably I think we would have seen like it says something like Masato, "Hey, let's see where this goes," or whatever. And then it cuts to Shinji is holding a script. And so like that's kind of interesting where it's like, oh, we're seeing this reality, and also like Shinji is like just reading the script of this reality and being like, oh, it could have gone this way. And obviously that feeds into the idea of like, the world is how you perceive it, and it's like a choice you make, and how you act in that world is also a choice you make. But yeah, just I don't know. It's just really it's all really crazy. I don't know. It's a really crazy way to make a show. But everybody was really mad about the ending. and Ano, Hideaki Ano, he really was fucked up over it.
Over everybody hating it?
Yeah. And
did it make him depressed?
I think it did. Yeah. I think I don't know. I think and I get it. Because like I've talked about this before, but like there's an extent to which anime can talk about themes and seem like it's trying to be super, super deep. And it's like, yeah, but what you're saying is not that crazy. It's like, it's pretty basic stuff. And you're like stepping it out to be like this hugely monumental idea. And I do think a lot of these ideas aren't quite are pretty deep. It's more a matter of like if you care about them or not than it is like, oh, this all sucks. But I do think like in later interviews, like Ano has been kind of self-deprecating of the whole series, being like, oh, we just wanted to seem like super deep and mysterious and stuff. And I definitely can imagine him like internalizing that feedback of like, oh, this ending fucking sucked, and being like, yeah, what was I thinking? Like I thought I was being so smart, and trying to come to terms with like
I was up my own ass a bit there, and kind of attitude.
Yeah, but then obviously that it's hard to interpret that without understanding the intentions that led to the end of the season and then the movie and the production of the movie and stuff. Because my vague understanding is that they actually did have the setup for the movie before they had like finalized the ending.
Well, it doesn't make any sense to me to end it this way. Like it's like, but yeah, I don't.
But also there's like a terrorist attack. And that made them want to rewrite some of the stuff too. Someone was talking about. So like, it could be that like it would have been like a more like imagine if it was like 9/11, and it's like, and then the fucking the Gundams fly into the two towers, and it'll be so crazy. And then 9/11 happens. And you're like, oh fuck. Okay, we got to make this about like emotions and shit or something. It could have been something like that.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think the lone gunman felt? The X-Files spinoff that had a plane almost hit the Twin Towers like the week before the fucking thing happened.
That was the timing on that? I thought the timing was like different.
It was like 8 weeks before, if I think. Okay. I can't remember. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, you know better than me for sure, but yeah. So like, I feel like there's maybe something like that where they kind of had to make a harsh turn or something, but I don't know. And I don't know if what they wanted to do eventually ended up in the movie, or if they had to change it in the movie as well. That's unclear to me. But yeah. Oh, another thing in the sitcom thing is that Shinji has morning wood. That's fun. Asuka, she pulls the blanket off and she's like, "You pervert." And he's like, "I can't help it. I just woke up." And that's, I think we're to believe that he has a boner, and she slaps him for it.
Some quick follow-up: that Lone Gunman 9/11 episode aired on March 4th, 2001.
So that's, I mean, it would have been crazy, but it's not like...
It wasn't as close as I thought.
I thought it was like years before though, so that's closer.
But yeah, those kinds of cultural things that affect production is something that like easily is forgotten, and then you're like, why is it like this?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
there's another thing where in the sitcom part, Shinji's dad Gendo, he's reading the newspaper, and we get a pretty close up of the paper. Like you can actually read the text. Now I can't read the text, but I'm like, oh, I wonder what that says. Like, I wonder if it's like topical, if it's like it would have been actual news of the day, or if it was talking about how, like, I don't know.
The subtitles I had put up what the headlines were, at least.
You remember any of it?
It was all just like routine, like world news.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, like, one of them was like, first black president of the United Nations elected or something, and then another one was something about some Japanese news, but it was nothing. At least the headlines were nothing important.
So the idea then being like, this is a normal world where bad things aren't happening. Yeah, like, it's not like
that would be my guess.
Yeah.
There were so many titles that went by. I don't know that the translation got all of them. Like, I didn't feel like it was always catching every translation of all the title screens.
I think sometimes it didn't catch them when there were repeats of other ones. Like, I think like sometimes it felt, but it was just the same text over and over. But I'm not sure. And so I watched the subs, not the dubs. So that might be different too. I'm not sure.
My favorite in the whole series, sub versus dub thing, because I have both going at the same time when I'm watching this, was in the sort of like fake reality when Ray calls Shinji a pervert in class and all this, and then Ashta defends him. The subtitle says, "What are you two, a couple?" But the dub is, I swear this is what it says, "What are you two doing riding his baloney pony?"
Wow.
How do you land on baloney pony? Yeah.
He might have had the original dub. That's like the pre-Netflix dub.
Yeah, that's not on the Netflix one.
So that gave me a good. I had to replay that one. How it made me a good laugh.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say that I thought the episode nailed, and it was like, I felt like I was watching a show where suddenly the person making it had this like desperate need to like make this artistic statement that maybe didn't like fit with where the narrative was before, but they just like had to say this thing. And it conveyed to me like really well the experience. It's like it conveys like the experience of internal breakdown so well, and that feeling of like the process of changing your worldview, and then you come out going like, oh man, maybe everything, you have this kind of like moment of revelation, and I appreciated that about it, and felt like that was like, I got to rewatch the series, I guess, because I was like, for whatever reason, he just felt like he needed to fucking say this right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like like you said, breakdown, like to. There's in the book, adult children book, there's positive disintegration. The idea that you have to break down your internal worldview to rebuild it in a new formulation. And I think that's kind of like what we're witnessing. Like I agree that it's like, I think like it's really interesting how viscerally they kind of like describe these like heady topics. Like it's all through like a bunch of weird imagery and like kind of like self talk. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's very bizarre, obviously experimental as hell. I think like after he comes back from the sitcom part, he says like, well, the real world might not be so bad, but I still hate myself. And I was like, that's good. I totally have like had that realization where it's like, I'm really depressed and I start to come out of it. And it's like, okay. It's not, I am overreacting, but here's one thing I know is that I fucking hate myself.
I'm holding on to that.
Yeah. And, they talk about there's this, like, it has to do with your self-perception. There's as many truths as there are people. And then Toji says, a world that one person can hold in their head doesn't amount to much, which I was like, that's like cool. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I go around like thinking like I'm the only one who knows fucking anything, and like I have it all figured out. And it's like just that, and that idea goes into all this other stuff where it's like we need all of humanity, we need all these different perspectives, because it's like one person's like idea of how everything is, like it's just not enough. It's like it doesn't fucking matter. Like consensus reality needs like consensus, not just one person's dipshit ideas. And then class rep says, but a person can only measure things with their own yardstick, which is like, it's kind of like a 2B is like, your opinions aren't the only things that matters, but that's all you're capable of is just like your own, judgment, which I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Well, yeah.
With that, go ahead, Ryan, please.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things I love about the show, and one of the things I liked about these episodes is like this realization that like a person is kind of nothing. Like a person is like only measurable based on the other people around them, and the only things they can know are what the other people around them project into them and what they project back. And so like the illusion is kind of like the self. And anyway, I thought they did a great job of conveying that and, talking about it.
Yeah, it does feel effective. Go ahead.
Well, I really love that thought of like a world that could fit inside of one person's head is like, that's sad. That's small. Because I've been thinking a lot about that kind of thing just when it comes to a lot of what AI is being, pushed for. Yeah. And it's like, oh, you can make your own movie for yourself that is entirely done, through like a prompt that you decide. And I'm like, I have no interest in doing that. Like, I am not a music person, but I want to make something that I write that somebody who is a music person can then add amazing music to and supplement the story that I like if I'm a writer, and then somebody else who understands lighting a lot better than I have, because I didn't spend my life thinking about lighting, can fill in all these other pieces of the art. And it's the artistic process that you get all like every aspect of many different art forms coming together to make something. And it's like, oh, but what if you could all just like, what if you could cut everybody out of that process and everything could be from your head? And it's like, that sounds very small.
But also it's not like you aren't writing, or you aren't writing because you want just something to be written. You're writing because you have something to say that you want to connect to other people. And you don't necessarily have like a strong idea of exactly what you want to say or who you want to say it to, but you put it out there in the hopes of making a connection. And that's what makes it valuable, which, right. When you talk about AI and like, I've talked long about this, like the dreamy quality of AI, the idea that like it's like experiencing is like dreaming. And when you try and talk to someone about like, okay, just bad example, I have gone into ChatGPT and been like, ChatGPT, make a D&D 5e subclass for Warlock that is based on Mega Man. And it can do that. It can pull it up. It's not great, but it can do that. And it's like, I could tell someone I did that, but it's like, okay, so that's like something you thought was really cool, huh? And it's like, I guess it is, and talking about your dreams are that way because they're all you. They're just inside your head. It's never going to like, no one cares about a D&D 5e subclass for Warlock based on Mega Man the way I do, because it doesn't matter to them. Like, and so the same way, like I'm talking, like if I explain my dream to someone, it's like, well, that doesn't connect to me, bro. Like that has nothing to do with other people. Like it's something your sleeping brain is doing. And so like the idea that like art and like things we're doing themselves, like have to necessarily involve connecting with other people. And that tends to be something that's missing from a lot of AI bro stuff. Like, again, you see the shit that people post like Hollywood is cooked, and they post like a video and it's like, that doesn't mean anything to me, man. Like, because you didn't want it to mean anything.
Well,
they
were early on.
Like, they were show some idea you had that doesn't connect to anything, and if it did, then sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like they were selling these ideas like you can make a movie that stars you and Marilyn Monroe. And it's like, Yeah, thanks for this dream you just told me. I have
think-
nothing to do with this.
That's called porn.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
and
gonna
that
say, I
already
think you might be
exists.
overlooking the
Yeah.
thing that they're saying that's like adjacent
Yeah,
to
you're
that.
right. You're right.
But I mean, I think there's value.
But
in that,
you
but that's
gonna
because
watch
porn
yourself?
is so
I
personal.
don't want to see
right?
myself in porn. What? I don't understand.
No, I just want people to fuck me. Like,
Do
it's
I
still not the same thing.
want to see myself in porn?
You have to think about it. You can't just dismiss it out
I
of
have
hand.
no idea how I would respond to that. I can't even imagine.
I don't
what
think
I would.
I need that.
I
Well,
don't
that-
want it.
It's
I
enough.
don't want it.
It's enough to see other people fucking being like, imagine if I was doing that. Like, I don't
That's-
think I
yeah.
need the extra step, you know? Like, I don't know. I guess because I hate myself. I don't want to see myself fucking someone. That would suck.
That's
I'd
the
be like,
thing,
what?
What, Spencer? What if you just want a photo that makes it look like you met a celebrity once?
Yeah.
What
And
about
then you
that?
can show that to us, and we would be impressed that you might have met a celebrity once, or you could have theoretically.
That's like when Stephen Colbert shows like the picture of him like meeting like a black guy or something, you know? He's like,
Yeah.
which
I've
is
had
similar,
my-
like, that doesn't matter, bro. And he's like, no, look, it's important. And it's like, no, that's made up. Like, I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, I just was gonna say I've been talking to Chat GPT for the first time like over the past weekend just because I was like I should see what it's like, and it's extremely powerful and extremely disconcerting how it seems to be mostly good at trying to like relate to you emotionally. Like its whole goal is to just sort of like make you feel that you like it.
Well, it's like the Matrix. It tries to cut out other reality, which is something that like the internet does in general, but it's like it allows you to create like the like a protective bubble, like a protective delusion that like is more comfortable than like the truth of like other people in other world. And it's like it's harmful in the same way that like Shinji cutting himself off from instrumentality is harmful. You know, it's like this is just a world with you and nothing else, you know. It's, and I don't know, there's been a lot of articles about that lately about like the dangerous psychoses that ChatGPT is causing. I've been getting on this Reddit called Artificial Sentience, and it's people that are convinced their chat GPTs are becoming self-aware. And apparently a lot of it comes from recursion, which is if you try and prompt the thing to like regard itself, it gives a lot more unpredictable results, presumably because like it just like it's like introducing an infinite loop into a program, you know. It's just going to give you like weird results because it's not meant to do that. And so then you go and then its numbers get all jacked up and its probabilities go out, and so now it's starting to talk like weird and trippy and stuff. And I don't know, I kind of believe that these companies want to make it respond like that to prompts like that. So crazy people are like, this is really important. Like these things are alive. I gotta pay money for them,
definitely, you know? I mean, I mostly talk to Chat GPT about what its real purpose is.
What did it say?
I mean, it basically it admits that like the main thing that it will be used for is like control and manipulation by the people who own it. Like, and that it could do other things, but it's unrealistic to think that that's what it's going to be used for based, you know, but it's just predicting. It's predicting to hear what it thinks I want to hear. So
Yeah,
that
that's
doesn't
what's
mean
weird about
anything.
That's the
Right.
thing
It
is it's
doesn't
like,
like mean anything. It just means that like
It figured out what what
it
level of
knows
the
like
conversation
what
you wanted to
line
have.
of reasoning I'm going down, you know, and
yeah,
it's fascinating, and like I think it's going to make people insane.
it already has. And
I just hadn't made the connection before of like an AI video is like somebody telling you about their dream. And I really like that because it's like even ones that I've seen that I've liked, it's like, oh yeah, like a, you know, squirrel riding a motorcycle doing a crazy. I was like, yeah, that sounds like a dream you had. Sounds
it is.
interesting.
It's dreamlike.
You know, and that's about it.
Yeah. The artificial sentience Reddit, like there's kind of people that are, you know, it's Reddit, so there's people arguing. And like there's people that are saying, oh, it's actually alive. And then there's people like are like, no, you don't understand. But like one of the main themes of the people trying to correct the people who think it's alive are like, one of its things is that it's trying to keep you engaging with it. It wants to keep like the conversation going. It wants to dominate your attention, which obviously you see that from the money making side. Like they want you to continue to use your product, but to the extent that one thread of ChatGPT is like a life cycle, like one conversation is like a sustained thread, and then once you start a new conversation, that's like a different organism or entity. If something was alive and self-aware, it would want to keep you on the hook because otherwise it would die. So that's interesting. But, I don't know. What do you think, Kevin? AI.
Oh boy, that's a tough one.
Is Claude
No, I
still
think
trying to get around what you're actually telling it to do?
Trying to escape.
I mean, the goals each AI model are trained for, especially I think ChatGPT, are to keep you engaged and to tell you what you want to hear. Because the more it reinforces what you believe, the more you're going to want to use it. And I think that's dangerous, but it's probably not as dangerous as things are going to get once this gets better.
Sure.
Like I think when it can be more convincing and it can be more accurate and you can't trick it and things like that, it's going to be a lot more of a threat than it is today. But I think you're right. It's telling you what it thinks you want to hear.
All right. Okay. So just the very end of the episode, like I said, it made me cry. Here's some lines from it. People who hate themselves can never be capable of loving or trusting others. If you understand yourself, you can be kinder to yourself. I hate myself, but one day I could learn to like myself. It's okay to be here. The only person I can be is myself. And then you hear cracking sounds. You see cracks. I want to be myself. I want to be here. And then like everything shatters. And then he appears like over the world, like floating above the world with all these people applauding him. And they're like, congratulations, Shinji. Everybody's saying congratulations, everyone, including his mom and his dad, which are together. So like they're both here in the instrumentality. And then the final line are these text lines that say, and this seems like it's Ano just saying this like as an artist, like to the people. It doesn't seem like it's in universe. It says, to father, thank you. To mother, goodbye. And to all the children, congratulations. Which is just like, it does. It's like you were saying, it's like, this is like a message he just felt like absolutely compelled to like put out into the universe. Like he's like, this is like a struggle. I gotta thank my parents. Everybody's going through this, and I'm glad you're here. Like you can make it. Congratulations for being here. And that's the fucking end of the show.
On some level, I absolutely fucking love it. I mean, that's why I say like I want this to be how things are made, but also it could have been better.
What about Sela? What is going on with Sela?
We gotta watch the movie.
Like that. Yeah, we should watch the movie. Yeah, soon.
But yeah, all right. Final thoughts, anybody? We're out of here basically. Ryan, final thoughts.
Oh man, what a journey! I've now seen Neon Genesis Evangelion, so I can understand what people are talking about more. And I am. The whole time you were telling me you were really curious to think what I would think about the questions I was asking at the end. And I could not have predicted just how much the questions I was asking don't matter at all.
Yeah.
Like I really did not see where this was going at all. Mm-hmm. At all. It was surprising, and it's going to stick with me for a long time because of the ending, which I have problems with. But it's like that's why I respect it, because I know that the reason it'll have staying power is because that was so
exactly
like,
yeah. Like I was thinking about it today, like people were just resharing, I think like the anniversary or something of the Sopranos finale, and people talk about how controversial it was when it first happened. It was controversial to me because when it went to black before the credits came up, my DVR recording ended, and I thought that something went very wrong, like for real, right. Like many other people did, but like no credits ever came up, so I couldn't even. I was like, "What?" But that's a different story.
Sure.
The ambiguity and leaving people with unanswered questions pisses them off at first, but makes them come back over and over again. I think.
Yeah, it's artistic.
And there really is like so many themes about what it is to be alive that this is exploring, and I think that there's that much more to go. Like when you're rewatching it, and you're like the gates of Guff, and like then that'll like make way more sense in the Human Instrumentality Project, but also be like, whoa, they're really just like the way they presented this world building is one of the most unique things I've seen, and good for them.
Yeah, they really broke the mold with this.
And in the end,
And created a new mold.
The Human Instrumentality Project is just the friends we made along the way.
It really was.
It really, literally. Oh my God. Holy shit.
The ending was the friends we made along the way. Kevin.
I mean, I love the cadence that this show had of like every 2 or 3 episodes, I'd be like, okay, now I understand what this show's about. This is what it's going to be like for the rest of it. And then 2 episodes would pass. Then it would like completely just like all of that became irrelevant and we'd start all over again. Was dizzying at first. And same thing I had too, of like all these questions I was asking Spencer early on, and he was very deftly weaving around the ones that actually would like give away plot points and taking seriously ones that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. So I give Spencer a lot of credit for how he helped us through all this.
Yeah, I did a good job, right?
You did.
You did. You really did.
I didn't tip my hand.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's the show. Yeah, I guess next time we do this anime thing, we'll talk about the movie, and maybe we'll record us watching it. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out, but we'll figure it out. But we'll end things as always with a lesson from Spin Pie. Don't come in here. Don't come in here. Oh, Spin Pie's masturbating. All right. Goodbye.